Good morning, virtual villagers, and Happy New Year to you all. I'm Kate from What Kate Made. This is my first session of the new year, and today we're going to be looking at making a simple scented sachet to put in your drawers or hang in your wardrobe. And we're going to make it pretty up with a little bit of a very simple embroidery. Don't worry if you've never embroidered before. It's very simple. I'll explain a couple of simple stitches, show you the equipment and various techniques that'll make it a little bit easier for you. So first of all, I'm going to show you, this is what we're going to make. Oh, well, it's got a different design, but it's as you can see, it's very simple. It's a piece of, I don't know whether you can see that, it's an even weave fabric. It's quite a loose, sorry, I'm trying to bring you live again. It's quite a loose weave, which makes it easy to embroider on, and also helps release the scent when it's in your drawer. The back is a more ordinary simple cotton, just because it's easier to sew together. I've used embroidery floss on to do the embroidery. I'll explain about that later. That's 6-stranded embroidery cotton. These are very simple stitches. This is the stems are a back stitch. The flowers are what's called a daisy stitch, lazy daisy stitch. Can you see that? I'm trying to get it close enough for you to see and not so it goes out of focus. So these are little lavender stems of lavender. I would put a lavender scent in that. I've still not got you coming up live. We'll wait a minute. So that's what we're going to make. These can be put in the drawer. If you could also sew a little ribbon loop on, which I'll show you later, you can hang it in your wardrobe as well. So what we're going to use today is we're going to use the fabric. Now, I've got a sheet which I printed out with several designs on it, and this is the one. Sorry, this one I'm going to use today is a snowdrop. So rather than use the white, slightly off-white fabric I used before, I'm using this, which is like a more of a sort of natural coloured linen-y fabric. So that's my fabric. For the design, I'll show you what I've done. This is the one I've got ready to start with. I'm trying to get it out of the sunlight coming through so you can see. You can see the design is drawn on the fabric. That's drawn on using a heat erasable gel pen. I have a pack of these. They're like the best things in sliced bread. I use them all the time. You can draw them onto the fabric and then iron it and it just disappears. They also work on paper and card and everything. It's really good because you can use them to draw freehand. The other way to do it with embroidery, sometimes you get an iron-on transfer, which is like a sheet of paper printed with a special ink, and when you iron it on, it transfers to your fabric. However, sometimes they can be difficult to get rid of again afterwards. Anyway, so that's how we get the design on. I drew the design, I printed it out, and I used a light box. It's a very simple thing, is a light box. You don't have to use one. This is mine. Oops, sorry, knocked it then. This is mine, so the light's underneath. Basically, when you put the light on, this lights up, you put your paper on, put your fabric on top, and it shines through, and you can draw the design, so you can trace it. You can also do it by using the window, putting the 2 layers on your window. So that's how I got the design onto the fabric. Now, what else do we need? You can use an embroidery hoop. These are quite small pieces of fabric, so that's my smallest hoop, and it would just fit. If you can see, if I put it on, it would just fit. It's not the stitches we're going to use, back stitch and satin stitch today, actually are probably easier to do without a hoop. That will hold your fabric nice and stiff so that it doesn't move around when you're embroidering. So you will need needles. These days I have to use a needle with a big eye, but they need to be sharp pointed needles, not like a darning needle. We're using 6-stranded embroidery floss. So this is it. Comes on a skein. I don't think I've got one to show you. No. And I always wind mine off, and these are little plastic bobbins. It just makes it easier. So you can see it's a nice floss. I've got lots of different colours, but I usually buy 2 or 3 when I need them. And can't seem to get you coming up on Facebook. If there's anybody there, let me know. Where was I? Needles, threads. That's about it, really. Pair of scissors. I've got here, if I turn the camera a little bit, I've got a little ironing station. I've got my new craft iron and a towel on the table. Oh, the final thing is the scent, isn't it? I've got essential oil. This is lavender. I had got a little bit of rice as well, and I seem to have mislaid it. When I fill my stash, traditionally you would fill it with lavender flowers or some sort of scented flower. However, let me just turn that up a little bit more. A lot of the stuff you get these days dried, it doesn't have any scent. You can add essential oil to your flowers, but I like to use a little bit of rice, and the reason being is that the rice absorbs the oil and then gradually gives out the scent again. So it's much better for the scent lasting. Sorry, I keep getting distracted because I'm trying to bring the feed up live on a different device so I can see comments, and it's just not coming up. Anyway, we'll carry on. I'm going to get started. Sorry about that. That was a bit of a technical hitch. We'll blame the new year. Right, let's get started. I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. It's a bit of an odd angle today because I'm on a different surface, and it's made even worse by the fact that I can't actually see my live feed as well. So please forgive me if it's a bit awkward. There we go. Should be able to see me now. Right, I'm going to start by threading my needle, and using 6-stranded floss like this. Quite often you will split it because it's quite thick, as you can see. Don't know whether you could see that. So if I show you, if you just sort of flick at the end of it, the strands will separate, and we want to separate them into half. So we've got 3 strands in each. You won't be able to see this. You'll be able to see me splitting it, but probably not be able to see. So can you see I've split it into two lots of 3 strands? It's just because it's a bit thick for what I want to do, and you just simply keep running your finger down the length of it until it's split into 2 threads, and then you will thread it up onto your needle. Now I have already thread one with green because sometimes watching me thread needles can be a little bit painful. I'm not very good at it. So I've got my needle threaded up. I'm just going to put a simple knot in the end just to stop it coming right through the fabric when I start. Now, I said before, I'm just going to use 2 stitches today, and those 2 stitches are satin stitch and back stitch. Now you can see I've already started here. So this is the satin stitch. There's a little bit more there, and this is the back stitch and here. So satin stitch is basically you go over and over and over with stitches around the outline of the whichever bit it is you want to cover, and you get the stitches as close together as you can, so you get this sort of solid cushioned effect. Now these ones I have gone round with back stitch around the outline first of these are leaves, this flower one here, I've just done the satin stitch straight because I want to do the back stitch on top of that, because snowdrop flowers tend to have a little bit of a green outline. Right, so I'm going to show you first the back stitch, and I'm going to outline this leaf here at the bottom. So you come up, this is back stitch. So I've come up at the bottom of my outline of my leaf. And back stitch is basically you go down through your fabric again, creating a straight stitch, and then you come up again a similar length of stitch. Can you see this okay? In front, so that's about the same length. This actually probably would be easier to hold using the hoop. I'm going to put it in the hoop, just bear with me a second, then you'll be able to see more then. So I don't want to trap my working thread inside the hoop. When you put a embroidery hoop on, you put it's in two halves, and basically you stretch it between the two, so it goes on like that. You probably use these for other things. Okay, and then tighten it up, so that makes it easier for you to see the fabric now. So as I said before, I've done the first stitch, then I've come up a bit further along, and it's called back stitch because you then go back and you put the needle down the hole where your previous stitch ended. So you're creating a continuous line of stitches. So you do the same again, you come up an even distance away from your last stitch, pull it through, and then go down at the top of your previous stitch. And you just keep doing that until you've outlined the whole objects that you're doing. In this case, it's a leaf. Now, I don't do a lot of hand embroidery. I do like it. Very useful. It's not just tablecloths. I mean, that's how I learned, was doing. But my grandmother would show me how to do it. We would buy a ready printed tablecloth with the design already printed on it, and then just embroider over it. And she taught me that all the stitches. That was when I was a child. My two grandmothers taught me nearly everything I do, handicraft wise. They were very, very prolific, crafty people. So I'm just carrying on outlining this. So as I say, embroidery is not just tablecloths and samplers. It's become very, very popular for what's called visible mending these days. So there is a rising movement of make, do, and mend, and not throw things away when they've got, a tiny patch of grease on them or something. And this is where embroidery comes in very useful. I am terrible with white t-shirts. I always spill on them. So, it spoils them if they've got a little patch just right in the front of a stain. And if you can't get it out, I mean, obviously if you can get it out, and rather than throw the t-shirt away, you could always embroider a little flower on it. Now, you can see now I've outlined that leaf completely. And so what I'm going to do now is satin stitch over it. Now, satin stitch, as I said before, is like a solid, it's like filling an outline with a solid pen. So what you do is you come up on the edge at the very bottom of your shape, and then you go down close to the other line at the other side. And then you do the same again, come up, but as close as you can to the previous stitch, like that. And then you go down again as close as you can. Now, I'm going up and over, always from the same side, because this is a fairly small patch of satin stitch. But I'll turn it over in a minute and show you the back. So what you can see is that you get this solid back to it because it's going up and over like that. If you were doing a large patch and you wanted to avoid wasting your thread, then you could do it by coming up where you went. So you go down there, up and down, but then instead of wrapping it round, if you like, you come up at the same side as you went down, and keep doing it that way. And that way you only have a solid outline on the front, so you're not wasting thread along the back. I'm hoping you can see this okay, because I still haven't managed to get a live feed. Maybe that helps. No, still no live feed. I don't know why. Anyway, I shall have a look back at your comments later when I'm having my lunch. So I'm going to carry on with this. We'll have a little chat as we go. So I hope, I'm sorry I can't see your responses, but I will try and respond. I hope you've all had a nice Christmas and New Year. And did any of you get any crafty gifts for Christmas? I didn't get any. My family don't know what to buy me because they say, well, you've got everything, which is true. Now in February I've got a big birthday coming up and I'm 60. So I've asked everybody to give me craft vouchers so I can buy myself something really nice. I'm not going to do all of this leaf because I think you're getting the idea of the stocking stitch. Satin stitch now. So I will show you how to fasten your work off. So you just go onto the back and run your thread under some of your stitches that are already there, and then just hook it through that little loop, and then you can cut it off. And we can set that aside for working another bit. So you can see now we've got that leaf going, we've got this leaf started, my other leaves are outlined. Now running up here are the stems of the flowers. So I'm going to show you something that it's quite similar to backstitch, but it's a split stitch, and it's slightly different in where you bring the needle up and gives you a not quite such a solid straight line. It's called stem stitch or split stitch. So my stem from this flower here is running down there, so I'm going to start at the bottom of there. Now before with the back stitch, it starts the same. You go up and down along the length a little bit, but instead of coming up here where we did with the back stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to split that stitch. We're going to come up in the middle of it. Don't know whether you can see that, but my needle is coming up in the middle of that stitch. What that does is it spreads this out and it gives you a slightly thicker outline, which we want with the stem. And you go down again, and then again, it's a little bit awkward at this angle, come up in the middle of the stitch and go down. And then again, I'm going to keep doing a few of these, then I'll show you the effect you get. But as you can see, as long as you can sew a straight line, none of this embroidery is really hard. But it's quite effective. I think it's a good choice of this sort of natural coloured linen as well, because that white flower is really standing out. Let me just do a few more stitches. Have you had snow? We've had a bit, but it's gone now. Yesterday morning we got up to a white world, and it's all gone now because it rained overnight. But I don't mind that. Yesterday we weren't doing anything, just sitting in the house. Right, so if I show you that, can you see that? I don't want it to go out of focus. But this stem, the split stitch has made it slightly thicker than the back stitch. So that's quite nice and effective. I'm just going to carry on with that because then you'll be able to see as it meets the flower above. You need to keep your thread quite taut for this. your needle doesn't want to come up in the middle. Never mind. Also, the slight overlapping of your stitches creates a thicker stem as well, so it works quite. The needles come unthreaded. It's quite effective. I know there are some of you out there because I can just see that there are chats coming up. I'll just carry on with this. You just chat among yourselves. I have a friend who's a very good embroiderer, very skillful, and I'm actually going to see her this afternoon because she's got a new puppy. I'm going to visit. I love puppies. No, I wouldn't have a puppy. I love dogs. I've always had a dog, but I don't think I could cope with a puppy now. I think I'm too old for it. All that getting up in the middle of the night. So that's a nice stem stitch, and it looks really effective. So I'm not going to fasten off because I'm going to go back to this flower here. Now, when you see snowdrops growing, they do have an outline, an edge of pale green. I'm just going to try out with this one I've got on my needle that I've used for my stems to just kind of draw around this, if you like. It may be too thick. When I've done these, I've stitched over the stems, the back stitch. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to split that thread again because I think that'll be too thick, that green, and too dark. So I'm just going to trim that off. I've got some other greens here. So I'm going to try this sort of more lime green, and I'm going to split it into 2 strands rather than 3. So again, if you just flick at the end of your stranded cotton, it will split. I have no nails, so it's quite difficult to get it to split. But there, I've got 2 strands there. So I've got 2 strands and 4 strands, and I'm just going to split that. And I find it easier when you're splitting it to just run your finger down between where the split occurs, and it will separate out. It will curl, twist again, because the embroidery thread has a slight twist to it. It will twist itself a little bit, so just pull it straight. Right, let me find a spare needle that I can actually thread. That one. Bits of thread all over me. So I'm going to thread that up. Now, because this is quite a thick eye on this needle, and this is very fine cotton, now I'm going to double knot it just to make sure it doesn't come right through when I pull my needle through. There we go. So I'm going to outline this little white flower because it is a bit indistinct at the moment. I'm going to start with the centerpiece there. So I'm just going to outline it with backstitch. I'm going to get as close to my satin stitch as I can. And this will just give it a shape. It'll separate out the petals into the shapes that they should be. If you want a copy of this template that I printed out, I'll put it onto my Facebook page of What Kate Made. There is a link, I think, in all the usually they put a link in the comments to my Facebook page, so you can see I'm starting to outline this petal. If I just quickly show you, oh, sorry, I keep doing that. If I quickly show you again this picture, you can see that the petal is like 3 parts of the flower. So that's the outline I'm putting on. I feel this green may just be a little bit pale, but we'll see how it looks once we get going, once we've done a whole outline. And I think possibly my white cotton is a little bit, it's not really spread out like satin stitch should. So I may go back and do this over again in a darker green. But you get the idea. So that's one petal outlined. And then I'll go back around this one. Maybe not pull my thread quite so tight so it lies on the top quite a bit. You soon learn as you carry on with your embroidery little tips and tricks and how, you know, you learn your own style and how to make it look more effective. There are lots and lots of resources out there on the internet showing little, you know, YouTube videos showing you how to do various stitches. So if you find that you like it, then there's plenty of resource out there for you. Nearly there. I'm not very happy with this actually. I might do it again with a darker green. So the final bit of outlining is this center petal. What I might do is outline the petals first and then fill in with satin stitch. Do some more. Right, so I don't know whether you can, oops, get me going at the right angle. Can you see that? The outline. It's not bad. Not very happy with the shape, but that's fine. So you can see that, get it going the right way. You can see that I'm out of practice because I didn't do any in December. I had sciatica and I couldn't do anything. That's quite effective. Now, I'm going to show you now how the next stage of making this piece of embroidery into a sachet. And I mentioned before about this ink being heat erasable. So I'm just going to plug in my iron and then I'll show you that in a minute. So we take out the one thing you can't do with this if you haven't finished it, which I haven't, but I'll show you anyway, is iron it because the design disappears. I'm going to use again this plain white cotton as my backing because this is quite a nice, it's quite nice. So what I'm going to do is cut the backing to the same size as the embroidered piece. Now this linen is a little bit fray, it's fraying a little bit, so I have to be careful. Now when you're making up your sachet, it's just going to be a little bag. So I'm going to stitch round. I'm going to use the sewing machine because it's quicker. So I need to turn that upside down, the embroidered piece, so that my bag is its right sides together. So bear with me a second. I just need to move a few things before I switch the sewing machine on. I always end up with loads of clutter. Now I'll turn the camera around so you can see the machine. You can just about see it. I've got this new tripod that's very flexible, but I'm trying to get the machine into it. There we go. There's my sewing machine. You don't really need to see me sewing because you all know how to sew. One thing I am going to do is put a little ribbon loop on. Now this is just a very narrow white ribbon. Where are you? There. So I'm going to do a little loop of ribbon and just sew that in when I sew the top so it can hang, this one. So you just use a simple straight stitch and we're going to sew it. I'm going to sew it as a long rectangle and make it with a ribbon round the top so it's like a tied up bag, if that makes sense, just to make it slightly different from the other one. So I'm going to sew 3 seams, but I'm going to leave it open at the top. along the bottom, and then back up the side again. So you can see I've now got a simple bag, and that's all the sewing. There's no more sewing. So I'll just move the camera back round, try and do it without dropping it, and point it down a little bit more. Okay, so this is my bag. I'm just going to trim it now. Use these bigger scissors. I got new scissors as well, and it's like cutting a hot knife through butter. They're brilliant. So I'm going to just trim off the edges that I don't need, the excess. Cut the corners at an angle. That helps you get a nice sharp corner. Okay, that's my bits of thread. And now I'm just going to turn this the right side out. Now it is going to be a little bit raggy around the top edge because of the nature of the fabric that I've used, because it frays a little bit. Just get my scissors into the corner to give me a nice sharp corner. Now at this point you would fill it. As I say, it's up to you what you fill it with. You can use lavender flowers or something similar. I like to use rice because it absorbs the scented oil and the scent lasts longer. But as I say, I had some rice, but I think it's gone downstairs. The other thing you use is a cotton wool pad, although that doesn't hold the scent for as long. But I will use a little bit of stuffing for now. So if I was using the rice, what I would do is use about a tablespoonful of rice, about 10 drops of an essential oil. I've got lavender here, but you can use whatever you want. And then I would put that inside the sachet before I sew it closed or tie it closed, whatever I'm doing. I'm just going to put a little bit of fibre fill in at the moment, just to give it the impression it's got something in it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my ribbon. I'm going to cut a longer piece because what I'm going to do is tie it at the top. So, before I do that, I'm going to show you how to erase the pen. So there's my sachet with its still pen marks on it. There's my iron in the distance. Can you see? And I'm going to just iron that and show you how the marks disappear. I'll draw them back on when I finish it later. So there you go. They've disappeared. And it's nice and flat now. So put the stuffing back in. And then tie the top up with this piece of ribbon. You could sew it gathered closed first, which probably would be a good idea because you don't want whatever's in it to be escaping. I might want to tie that a bit further up just so my embroidery doesn't disappear. And then I'll tie it in a bow like that. And then I'll tie this two top pieces into a loop. And there we go. We can hang that in our wardrobe and it will be, I tell you what would be nice if you use cedarwood or sandalwood scent in the wardrobe, because cedarwood keeps moths away as well. And not that we get many moths these days, but that's the little hanging one. So you've got your hanging one there for your wardrobe. You've got a little your little sachet one for your drawers. I'm just going to turn the camera back up so you can see me. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry about it being a little bit hit-y-missy with the camera, but yes, so that's simple embroidery stitches. As I say, I will finish off these and pop them onto my page what Kate made on Facebook. I will also put on the template that I used, so you can see that as well. Please comment if you're watching on catch up. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. If there's anything else you'd like to see or any questions you want to ask me about the equipment I've used, you can pop them on as well. I'll watch this back over lunch and comment, reply to any comments you've made. Thank you very much. My next session is in 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to be making melt and pour soaps. So we won't be in the craft room, we'll be in the kitchen, because I might have a new cooker by then as well. I do need, access to heat and things. So that is a very simple way of making your own soaps. So that should be very interesting. So that's 2 weeks today. I look forward to seeing you then. Once again, Happy New Year. Happy crafting for 2025. And I will catch up with you again soon. So thank you for watching.